You don't want to get that wrong.
Oh, I have before, and people let me have it.
I know. I was listening to that one too, and I'm like, of everything that you choose to focus on, that's what you're gonna nitpick? Come on.
Right? Like I only have like 1,500 followers, and somehow they're all haters out of all of them. So everyone that's listening, this is episode 115. So welcome back to the podcast. For this podcast, if you haven't listened before, it's going to sound a lot like we have two teachers sitting down, having a couple of beers, or 4 or 5 or 6 if you're me, and just talking, honestly, sometimes talking shit about education when it happens. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that's kind of messed up. And so if we don't drink and laugh about it, we may cry about it. So why not? So if you haven't already, rate and review whatever app you're listening in. That helps out the show. It bumps us up in those rankings, whatever you want to call it. You can always reach us, classroombrew@gmail.com, or you can reach us on social media @classroombrew. If you do email us, please send like a voice memo or something like that. I'll play it on the podcast itself, and then if it's a question or something like that, happy to respond to that. How long has it been since we've seen each other? From when I student taught and we co-taught together to now?
I'm trying to remember. It has to be 3 years?
3 years or so?
Yeah.
Give or take. Yeah, it's my 3rd year, so yeah, that's weird.
That is weird, because it doesn't feel like 3 years have gone by.
No, not at all. Well, so everyone, this is Lisa. So Lisa used to be my co-teacher when I was student teaching way back in the suburbs, which is such a different world from the city of Chicago.
It sure is. When I was still at UIC getting my master's degree, I moved out, got my own place. It was a little bit of freedom, and I loved it here. But It's super different from when I was here. It's way cooler. Everything's way cooler now.
Way cooler? Oh, okay. Well,
it really is.
So I remember when I started too, this is like before like you and I got to like the point where we were like comfortable like being real with each other, like having those candid moments. There were certain teachers in the school that like I vibed with in my short 14 weeks that I was there, and certain ones that I didn't. And so there was one time, and now I teach in CPS, but at the time I had only like done an internship in a CPS school. And I noticed that the school that I was student teaching at, that you were working at the time, they had one-to-one technology. And I just made some comment like offhand, like, oh, it's so cool that your guys' district has like the resources to like, pay for all this stuff. And the teacher goes, oh, I hate it when people say that. And then I just like looked, and I looked over at you, and you gave me a look like, struck a chord. I was like, oh God, I just got off to like the wrong foot. This was like day 2. And I was like, oh my God. I don't even know if you remember that. That was such a long time ago, but
it sounds like something that teacher would have said.
Oh, I just shot myself in the foot. That just set the pace right there. So we joke about like restorative justice. Like, what did you do to make my son like cuss you out? What did I do to get her pissed off at me the entire time?
Told him to turn in his homework.
So I guess a little bit of background. So before I was student teaching at that school, you had been there for a while. We obviously won't use the name of the school. Before we jump into where you're at now, what led you to eventually teaching special ed and co-teaching and all that stuff in that school?
Well, it goes back to, I went to Illinois State for 2 years. My mom's not going to listen to this, so I feel like I could say this. I got into a better school than Illinois State, and my parents said, we're not paying for you to go out of state. You party too much. So
was that the case?
Yes. I'm like, so you're going to pay for me to party at ISU? And they're like, it's a lot cheaper than out of state.
There you go.
So
we say this as we're drinking beers while doing the podcast.
I don't know what she's talking about. So while I was at Illinois State, I initially went in for teaching because I've always just kind of thought, like, I think I'd be a really good teacher. I like working with people. I like helping people.
There you go.
Took a teaching class, hated it. Hated the teacher, like soured me from teaching, but I was taking a criminal justice class at the same time. And I'm like, I really like this. So after 2 years at Illinois State, transferred to UIC. I was at UIC, criminal justice degree, working for the university. May of my senior year, I told my parents that I have been tutoring inner city kids for the past 6 months through an initiative with Chicago Public Schools and the Chicago Police Department. And I like it. I'm going to get my master's in special ed, and I'm going to teach kids.
There you go.
My parents were like, that's great. We're not supporting your grad school payments.
Oh,
so
no.
we'll support you.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, so I went and 3.5 years later, got my master's in special ed, got a job teaching in Chicago public schools, and I was K through 4. I liked it, but I'm not a K through 4 teacher. Like
Would you say that?
I hate singing songs.
That's like Ellen DeGeneres' wife. They're like, why don't you have kids? And she's like, you know that like high-pitched squeal when kids have immense joy? Yeah, Portia hates that. That's me.
Like I tolerated it, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I got puked on. I got lice.
Oh, God. What did you do to provoke that?
It was
sounds awful, though.
It was something. So, like I was telling you, we moved out of the city, bought a house in the burbs, got a job at a suburban high school. And one of the things she's a really good friend of mine now, she had said, she's like, we're just a little concerned. She's K through 4, like going to high school. And my coworker said, she's made for high school. You should hear the sarcasm on this one. Like, she's going to be a great high school teacher. It doesn't translate well to kids in the city. So I don't know. I think people, when they say to you, you're a special ed teacher, you must have so much patience. I'm like, no, I have little to no patience. I don't tolerate, if you have the capability to do it and you're just not doing it, I'm going to call you lazy. Mm-hmm. I have an understanding. Like, it's not your fault that you're having a hard time understanding this or that you're having a hard time with the numbers. Like, everybody learns differently. And I think that's what got me into special ed, is working with these inner city kids. And it's just, a lot of them had undiagnosed special ed issues. And I'm like, I want to help that. That's what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially in a district where they actually have those services. Mm-hmm. Like, if you were to evaluate, like, all of my students, 75% of them would be in special ed anywhere else.
Yeah.
But they're in an honors group in the city of Chicago because, like you said, undiagnosed, there's so many issues going on. It's absurd.
But it is.
Did you find that, like, your patience for adults, you might say, like, well, I don't necessarily have any patience, but I feel like we do still use up a lot of our patience on the kids. And I feel like I've brought this up. So if people are listening, they're like, oh, God, stop talking about it, Ryan. I feel like I have no more patience for the adults that are doing X, Y, and Z to just drive me insane. Because I use it all up on the kids, like when I have to repeat the instructions 18 times.
We used to go to staff meetings with staff bingo, or staff meeting bingo, until we got in trouble a couple of years ago. But it was
like code for, like, you guys were drinking in the staff meetings.
Every time that one teacher would raise her hand and say, I have a question. He just answered that. Why are you asking this question? Like, or if another teacher would go off on one of his rants because he'd been there longer than anybody else. And so you could check that little box off on your bingo card. So no, we weren't drinking yet, but
that was for after.
If you did well at staff bingo, you might get a beer at the bar when you went for after hours. So nice. We got in trouble for that, though. We got caught.
Oh, great. I can't even imagine. Like, what would the penalty be for that? Like, hey, stop
having fun at staff meetings.
Stop making this dry content entertaining and have some stakes and rewards. That's a great idea. I should start doing that. With myself, with no one else, just myself. Make a bingo card with, like, ways that I know I can win.
Oh,
with no opponents.
And then you could buy yourself a drink on the way home.
Oh, my God. Yeah, there you go.
High five.
This is a great plan. This is the best way. Yeah, that sounds about right. The staff meetings especially.
Oh, yeah.
Like the PDs and all that stuff. But
God. Yeah, PDs. Not this last August, the August before was the start of my 20th year of teaching. And my husband, for I think my birthday or I don't know, whatever it was, bought me Zach Brown tickets at Alpine. Okay. And I looked at the date and I'm like, crap, I start work the next day.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, we got a new staff principals coming. Like, it's all going to be chaos tomorrow. I'm like, new principal. I'm like, I'm just going to go in when the department meeting starts at like 8:30 so that we can stay out and, drink more Spotted Cow.
Yeah, there you go.
So, as we are walking into the concert, I see my assistant principal.
Oh.
I hear my name and I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well for me. I'm like, God damn it. Now she's going to be looking for me at 7:30 in the morning. So
you got some pretty rough luck there.
I was traumatized. So I had to go to work.
Yeah, there you go. It's you rolling up at 8:30, and also the vice principal is pulling up at 8:30.
I know.
I never noted when someone's like, "Yep, I've been in it." So like you're like, "I've been in it for 20 years." I wasn't sure if I should be like, "Congratulations," or be like, "Condolences." Like I wasn't fully sure. Like, is there anything that's like your biggest pet peeve? This can be like with coworkers or with students where you're like, I can't hang with this.
I think it's learned helplessness. I think is a huge pet peeve of mine, and it's not just with the kids anymore. It's with adults.
Oh yes,
too. That it's like Google it.
Right, or just be intuitive. Something.
Try something different. Step outside your comfort zone.
Right. The basics of being a human.
Yeah, I think the learned helplessness, pet peeve, and as I think a special ed teacher, another trigger for me was always, I can't do that because I have ADHD. I have a learning disability. I'm like, I know. That's why I'm here. Let's work on bettering yourself instead of using that as your crutch.
Right.
So I think that, and the learned helplessness.
Yeah. We get that a lot with anger issues. Like, oh, I have anger problems. It's like, it doesn't mean you can go threaten a police officer in our building right now, sir. Let's work on this right now.
Life skills.
Life skills. Exactly right. No, it's funny you mentioned that. Now, I don't know how much I can say. I probably won't say too much, but needless to say, even though we only worked together for like 14 weeks when I was student less really, because the first week and the last week is just, you're kind of just there. But I missed having you as a co-teacher because in CPS, co-teaching is a whole different ballgame. Like,
really?
The first like few weeks, I was asking you like, how does co-teaching work? And like, when do you want to take the lead? And I work as like the auxiliary help and things like that. And like, how does it work? And you're like, oh, I'd love to take the lead. If I were to ask that now of a co-teacher in CPS, they'd look at me like I was senile.
Really?
For the most part, they'll come in if they come. That's part of it. And just sit there. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
Not support minutes. And that's not all of them. There are some. So like my buddy Mike, who was my first co-teacher, he did a very good job of, we didn't have any time to like plan and coordinate, but he would just come in and like wherever he saw kids needed help, he was just like lock and key. He was in there, which was great. But it's a whole different story this year. I remember like some of our like looks that we would share. I remember I was featured on like some, like the district had like a YouTube thing and the students would like create stuff. And there's this video of you and I at one of my mentor teachers' desks. And they were like, act natural. And we're like, had you not said anything, you could have had it. And so they were like, say something fun. And we like turned to each other and we like pretended to say something and just started laughing. I'll have to send you the video.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
I'll have to find it. For some reason, that's like the biggest thing that stood out to me. But was there anything that you remember from, because the election was going on at that time? Is there anything you remember
that?
Well, we were talking right before we were recording. There was the girl that, when we were talking about like, what's the purpose of government, or like some like vague question, and she said, well, you can't trust the politicians, and that's why Trump's going to come in and drain the swamp and make America great again. And you and I just gave each other a look like, oh shit, this is where we're at right now.
Yep. We haven't gone far from that.
Having a student teacher, what was that like having me come in, probably looking like, oh God, who's this guy? And honestly, I was probably like a day or two ahead. What was that actually like, having to like share the room and try to collaborate with someone that clearly was just trying to stay above water?
When you first hear as a co-teacher, you're getting a student teacher, there's a collective groan of, oh God, another student teacher. And then as you started teaching, I'm like, holy shit, this kid can teach. Like, he knows his stuff. And
man, I had you fooled.
Before that, the teacher I had been working with wasn't really letting me teach. It was, I think, doing what a typical co-teacher would do. She didn't trust that I knew the curriculum, even though I'm endorsed in social studies. She still didn't trust me to do stuff. So
sure, that
was hard. And then when we finally started talking and getting to know one another, and when you said, is there stuff you want to do? I'm like, me? What? Are you talking to me? Like it felt like an actual co-teaching experience. versus me sitting at the table and taking notes and then pulling groups of kids over and saying, okay, now I'm going to reteach because she's teaching at an AP level. And that was the last time I was in a class like that. I think I transitioned to pretty much strictly bio after that. And 4 years in a biology co-taught setting, I had an amazing co-teacher, and we got along. Like when she got married 2 summers ago, I got the online minister. So I married her and her husband.
Oh, ordained?
I got ordained.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got ordained.
What was the website in case anyone wants to be ordained themselves?
The Universal Life Church, I believe.
Okay.
So
is that valid for life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anybody out there listening, you want to get married? I will marry you.
Can you add that to like the letters at the end of your name? Like what are the letters you can add now? That sounds awesome. Become ordained.
I could become a doctorate of ministry.
There you go.
I'll just add that on.
Yeah.
Made up title.
Well, I used to do this thing in my second year of teaching where you ever notice email signatures and the titles that people like to use?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, all right, we get it. So there's one person in particular that just had like way too many titles. Like, hey, let's consolidate these. So whenever, this was like a chain between me and this person, and whenever I would reply, I only have 3 things that I put in my signature. That's it. But every time I would reply, I would add one more every single time. And they didn't notice it. But anyway, sorry. Ordained.
So yeah, I'm ordained. Going back to bio, like when I first started with her, and it's just a basic bio class. So when I first started with her, like we didn't hit it off right away because she would take the class and say, my class, my agenda, mine. I'm like, finally I said, I'm like, hey, I'm a part of this too. Like, I get that you haven't co-taught before, but you're setting me up for failure by saying me, mine, this is mine. Oh, and she's here too. So we taught 3 periods together. And once we kind of sat and talked and figured shit out, like she would say, all right, why don't you teach 8th period today? And I'm like, what? She's like, watch what I do the first 2 periods and you teach the last class. So then like 8th period kind of became mine. And from that, then the second year, we'd meet during the summer and collaborate and come up with lesson plans. And she's an amazing teacher. And she gets the co-taught population.
Okay.
So, and that's also really helpful. Like you have to have somebody that gets that these kids do struggle and it's not their fault. So we were a really good co-teaching team. So we had, 4 years together. And at the end of it, like there were days she's like, oh, I have professional development today, or we're doing curriculum, this or that. She's like, do you want me to get you a sub? I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't need a sub. Like it's more work to have a sub. Like just let me teach the classes. So like there were days I was teaching all 3 of the classes. I had another teacher that I worked with, and she had said, Lisa's really good. Like, she knows her shit in bio. And now that I'm not there anymore, the teacher that is currently teaching doesn't do half of what I did.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
a shame.
Frustrating because it's not her fault. Like it's her first time teaching bio. You can't just expect a co-teacher to come in and say, okay, I'm ready to teach about mitosis today. Like
sure.
It took me a year to figure it out. And there were still things like I'd go to the teacher and I was lucky with her where I could say, I don't ask you to write an IEP. Don't expect me to write lesson plans. Like I will help you, but you're the expertise in this. This is my expertise. So I was lucky. We had a great rapport. And I felt like had you stayed at that school, that we would have been good co-teachers. Like I think we would have gotten into a good routine like that. But it's hard because it doesn't work with all teachers. And I think the class that we were in together, it was pretty obvious. She didn't want me there.
Right. 100% understand that one. Yeah, we have the same, because we have some co-teachers that want to do that. But like you said, there's people that just don't want to share.
No.
I think we're all very territorial.
Yeah.
When let's say you like go out for like a professional development or a sick day, whatever, do you order a sub for like if you're strictly co-taught, or is it just like, now that teacher's okay for that day, or how does that work? I
would get a sub if last year right after spring break, I went on a yoga retreat to Mexico.
Okay.
And it just so happened that it was the week after spring break. So I got clearance from my principal and he said, go have fun. And I said, I want to get a sub for at least 3 days. They're working on a project and it would be good. Like, I know the sub that I want to have. She already said she could do it. And he's like, why do you need a sub? I mean, because a lot of times when my co-teacher is gone, she gets a sub. I'm like, it just helps the equality. Like if I get a sub or she gets a sub and I don't, the kids see it like, why doesn't Miss A ever get a sub? Mm-hmm. She's not important enough. So I got a sub for the 3 days that knew what we were doing. She was a retired science teacher. So it was a good fit, but we have to fight for that. Like as special ed teachers, I felt that our district was initially not supportive of it. And finally, we're like, if you want to push this co-teaching, then you need to treat us as equals. And I think a lot of us get subs now.
Good. That's good. You got some traction there.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you, like, the subs actually are doing something. That's another big difference is that doesn't happen in CPS, where I've gotten videos from my AP kids. They're not supposed to be on their phones, but videos of my sub sleeping in my yeah. It's a whole different ballgame, I guess. But no, that's good though. I'm glad that it seems weird that that's not even like, it shouldn't be a question that like if an adult that is teaching is out of the building should get a sub.
Right.
That's weird.
When you're 30% SPED in the class anyway, like I think that's one thing that I pushed with admin, like being there for as long as I had. I'm like the principal came in, like you're like 10 years younger than me, dude. Like I just got to a point where I'm like, how many Fs do I give today? I'm like 0. So I'm going to go in and just say, this is unfair. Like this needs to change. This needs to change. I did get to that point where I'm like, it needs to be said and we need to have our voices heard. So going in and saying, we need subs, we need better training. You have to stop putting us in classes we've never taught before. It's not fair.
Right.
You have to have teachers that are willing to co-teach, because when you have 30% special ed kids in there, in addition to the special ed kids, we were also getting a really large amount of 504 kids. Everybody would say, oh, that's just a coincidence. I'm like, it is not a coincidence that out of 28 kids, we've got 30% that are special ed and I've got 11 504s. There is no coincidence there. It's a lot. To throw at a teacher that's not qualified for special ed, but in essence are becoming a special ed teacher. So it's really important to have a teacher with that understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I wish it would have been cool to see if it was longer than 14 weeks when I was student teaching, where would that have gone? Yeah. Because I feel like that would have benefited me moving forward in a different district, in a different area of the state, to kind of see like, hey, how can we make this work? They don't ever have anything like, hey, here's how to share the load in co-teaching, because it's non-existent. But no. I do remember when I was a student teacher, we don't get subs as student teachers back when I was doing that. I don't know if you remember this. On my way on a Wednesday or a Thursday, whatever day.
Accident.
Yeah, I got rear-ended on 290. That. And I wasn't there for, I think, 1 or 2 days or something like that. And there's no sub for that. And I totally dropped the ball on that. I was like, well, I was trying to sync up with one of my co-teachers. And then my other co-teacher was like, I got it. Wherever you're at, I'll take it. I didn't communicate that to the other one. I was like, oh God, here's strike 2. Strike 1 was I said the thing about pay. Strike 2 was didn't set her up for success when I wasn't there that one day. I don't even remember how I think she just synced up with what it was, but that was such a weird time. Because when I came back, they were like, you should probably like not stand for longer than 5 minutes. And I was like, what? Like, do you know what I'm about to be doing? Like, but it was such a weird thing where if you're going through student teaching and you're in this school that's like upper echelon of like achievement, it's like, holy shit, like how do I, like I was waiting on the side of the highway for them to come and like tow the cars, take the police report. I was responding to parent emails while I was doing that. I like called my like student teaching coordinator because I was on my way to the seminar, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna be late. And she's like, don't come, like go home, like it's fine, don't worry about it. But yeah, I was responding to student emails or student and parent emails, and you sent me this article not too long ago. See, that was a good segue. I just realized that. It was. You sent me this article about, so there's obviously helicopter and absentee parents. There's also something called a lawnmower parent. What's your experience with the lawnmower parent?
When I mention it to people, they're like, what's that? I'm like, it's the parent that will pave a smooth path for their kids so they never have to feel any stress or anxiety or trauma or drama. They just take care of everything ahead of time for them. So when they encounter something like a teacher saying, you have this giant project due tomorrow and you haven't even started it, and I have documentation with the amount of times that I have tried to engage you in this, and we've sent emails home, the parent will call the principal oftentimes, sometimes the superintendent's office, and just say, this is unfair. My son is being punished. He's got an IEP and he's got accommodations and he has a 504 and we're going to sue.
The sue part. That's nice.
Oh yeah. We're going to sue the district.
It's the magic word.
Oh, it's a 50-point project. Like
out of 100 things we've done.
What? Why are we suing? Like, why don't you just come to me instead of going to my boss? And it's translating too into the workplace with, like my brother had said, I have kids that come in for interviews, and he was talking to one of them one time, asking him questions, and he's like, dude, are you on your cell phone right now?
Jesus.
He's like, hang on. And he's like, he put his finger up at me. He's like, get the fuck out of my office. Like, this interview is over. Yeah. And the parent called and said, can you give him another chance? Those are the lawnmower parents. Like, let me do everything I can to set you up for success in life rather than let you fall and struggle, which we probably did. I know I did numerous times. Life is hard. And I think how old is my son now? 14? He's 14. He's a freshman in high school. And I sent him a text today and I'm like, if I get one more missing assignment notification from you, I'm like, we are going to spend Thanksgiving week together figuring out how, there's a disconnect for you. And he's like, no, I just need to turn it in. I'm like, then turn it in. Like, what?
The easiest part, arguably.
So, when I talked to the teachers and I'm like, well, I got him a tutor he's somehow ended up in an honors geometry class. So freshman in a sophomore level class, and he struggles. So I got him a tutor, and I've been honest with the teacher. Like, if you don't think he's ready for honors geometry, let's move him down. Like, I'm not going to fight this. And she's like, that's so refreshing.
Damn it.
I have parents that are like, can I come and observe and see what he's doing so that, She's like, do you want to come into my classroom and observe? I'm like, hell no. I'm like, I'm busy.
I can't imagine having the time. Like, holy shit.
So it just, in the 20 years that I've been teaching and the 16 years that I've been in the suburban school, I've noticed a shift of parents trying to fix all the problems for the kids. And I feel like it is kind of epidemic. I don't think it's just a Midwest problem of what did you say that set my son off? Mm-hmm. It's your problem. You did something wrong. My son, and they always start with, I know my son's not an angel. I know my son's not perfect. And then, but.
Right.
So I just saw so much more of that. And I'm like, I can't even. And then ironically, it's kind of what I do now.
So perfect. See, that was your perfect segue. So there you go.
I know.
You were in, it would be your 20th year, but right now you are not in the classroom. You're on a leave. So what's the position that you're in now? I
am working with students in college as kind of like an executive function coach. Think of it that way. So there's a need where, and I saw it a lot in the high school, and as a special ed teacher at my school, I taught in 5 classes and I had a caseload of special ed kids. So I got to the point where I'm like, I am not doing either job well right now. And when I started out teaching, I always said to myself, like, if I get to a point where I am becoming that miserable teacher, like, I need to take a step back and reflect. So I kind of fell into my position. I was talking to someone, I told you I went on my yoga retreat, and I met a woman there, and she was talking about her son who's really, really smart, but just can't organize himself to save his life. So he meets with a woman and she kind of helps him organize himself, go talk to professors. And he's like, I'm paying X amount of dollars at this university. And it was like X amount of dollars. I'm like, it's a lot of X's on that. So she's like, it's assurance that he's doing his stuff and it's not mom telling him to get his stuff done. Mm-hmm. So it's just, that assurance. I'm like, I'm intrigued. Tell me more, because what you're doing, your son, like getting this coaching, that's my job as a special ed teacher. Like I am supposed to be meeting with these kids and helping them with the executive function skills, because so many of our kids don't have it. Not just the special ed population. I think a lot of high schoolers are not prepared for college to go and have, like, I don't feel like I was prepared when I went to college. I muddled my way through until I figured out what I wanted to do. But having this is like, it's a dream come true for me. Mm-hmm. I miss the classroom and I miss teaching, but I feel like I get to case manage one kid at a time for an hour at a time, once a week or twice a week. It's been great. Like I've written curriculum for them and just, talking with them and seeing growth. I had a kid email me, he texted me, watching shows with my husband. I get a text. I'm like, oh my God, this kid got an A on his math test. He went from an F at midterm and now he has an 85%. And we set goals with them every week. And then we kind of rate them. Like some of the goals too are like, I want to drink less this week.
Can't relate. Was that your goal or the student's goal?
It might have been mine. So, then when we meet, I'm like, well, how did you do on your goal? He's like, oh man, on a scale of 1 to 4, I failed. I'm like, so what number would you give yourself? He's like, 0. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do different this week? And just holding them accountable.
Yeah.
So it's cool now that I've been doing it for a semester. I really enjoy it. And I've built rapport with the kids and they're fun to work with. And the texts they send me, like, they're funny. And I don't, like, some of the kids I don't jive with. And sometimes my husband after a session will be like, can I get you a glass of wine?
So these are like Skype or like a FaceTime type of thing, right?
Skypes, Okay.
And how many memes do they send you to communicate when they text, by the way? Is it all memes and GIFs and like Vines and stuff like that?
No. Oh. Well, if I can get them to send me a text, I do a happy dance.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I had kind of mentioned to my boss, I'm like, well, I send out calendar invites and I have a 24-hour notification and then a 30-minute notification. And then for some of them, there's a 15-minute notification. And
5
they
seconds,
still,
4 seconds, 3 seconds.
they still, like, when it's 2:00, they're like, oh shit, I totally forgot I was supposed to meet with you. I'm like, Lise, I saw you read the text last night. And then I send him a text reminder the night before. And I'm like, just a reminder, we're meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Per my previous text message, or
and
remember, as a friendly reminder.
Been doing this for the past 8 weeks now. Like, I don't know why this is a surprise.
How many kids? You said like what, 9-ish
I work
or
with
so?
9 kids,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you find yourself, like, are you able to, because when you're teaching, you have a million things on your plate. Do you find it easier now that you're kind of taking a step back from the classroom to focus on those 9 and be present?
Yes. And that's what I really, really enjoy. So I've kind of gotten into a routine the night before I work with them or in the morning. The learning curve was harder than I thought it would be. So now that, like, we're past midpoint in semester, we're coming up on finals, I feel like the sessions are going smoother. I send up follow-up emails when I'm done. And I feel like everything is more on point. And I mentioned to a kid, I'm like, oh, this is my first time doing this. Like, I just started. He's like, really? I thought you've been doing this for years. I'm like, well, I had a job as a teacher. I was kind of in training for it, I guess. So it's been kind of nice. But I feel like I'm present when I'm with them. And you get to know them and you get vested with them. So think of the kid that you work with one-on-one. You get vested in it. So when I meet with these kids every week, A couple of weeks ago, I told a kid, I'm like, we have problem solved this 5 ways from Sunday. I'm like, I'm out. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. Like, you need to go talk to the professor and you need to just tell him, like, I don't have my shit together. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm a hot mess. Like, can you help me out here? And he's like, I think I can do that. I'm like, I think you have to. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, they don't listen to me all the time, but it's cool when you have the kid that's the one kid that texted me, got an A on the math test. Mm-hmm. He got 100 on the test before, and then he got a 90 on this other one. I'm like, that's amazing.
He's killing the game.
He is. And at the same time, I'm like, why don't you go on for office hours and talk to your professor? And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, I appreciate your honesty. Like, it's a big part of the game. Like, if you're not going to do this, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not your mom. And that's what I think works with it is I'm good with working with the executive function skills with them, and I'm not their parent. Like, sure. I'm not going to yell at you. So you have to be honest with me. Like, if you didn't do well on a test because you were still drunk from your party the night before, like, we've all been there. Like, let's just problem solve how to fix this going forward. Right. It's been nice. I have a really good mentor that gives me good ideas, and I work with just a really good group of people. Mm-hmm. So they're giving me ideas, and like the learning curve was steep. I didn't think it would be as hard to learn how to do this. And now that I've gotten over the hump a little bit, I'm like, I think I might pick up a couple more kids next semester. And
okay.
My days are kind of nice. I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then Wednesday is kind of a catch-up day. And then if I need to do a session on Friday, I will, but I try to not work on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I also try to not work before 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's the best part. Yeah.
It's nice.
I feel like one of the main things that makes it more enjoyable is that you're able to be more present because you don't have to worry about the adults. I found myself this year. So like I had to become the department chair because our previous department chair moved on. And the first thing I had to do was, by the way, hire her replacement, like fill the teaching position. A handful of my kids, for example, in my 8th period class, I got pulled because I had to do something for whatever. Right. And I was gone for the entire period. The next day, the same thing happened in 8th period. Today, I was doing like a study session with my AP kids and some of my honors kids. And they said, oh, they need you in the main office. And the kids were like, again? And I found that, like, not to mention like supervising certain people and observing them and like handling personalities and things like that, all this together, that's been like the biggest thing causing the stress. And I've noticed myself in certain moments when I'm normally present with a kid, like one-on-one, I'm like, I'm not fully here right now. And then I have to kind of like key back into it. They were asking me to do case managing and co-teaching. And do you think that's the biggest factor is like, all right, now I can focus on this kid at this time with this thing? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I do miss teaching. And I know when I was interviewing, that was one thing they were concerned about is, do you think you're going to miss the classroom? I do miss the classroom. I was in the classroom for 20 years. Like, I like teaching. I like working with the kids in that capacity. And I like seeing when that light bulb clicks.
Sure. Yeah.
And they get it.
Yeah, you get goosebumps with that.
You really do.
You start blushing and everything.
And I've always been pretty honest with the kids where if they didn't do well on a test, I'm like, well, that's me. Like, I clearly didn't teach it. If everybody did really poorly on the test, like, I didn't teach you well enough. So let's take a step back and figure out what can I do? What can we do as a class to make this better? With this job now, working with them one-on-one, like, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm excited to go to work today.
Oh, that's good.
And going to work is I go sit in my desk chair in my office at my house, but I miss the camaraderie that you get with working in a school. That's hard for me. Like, I don't think I'm super social. Like, well, no, I'm pretty social. I like talking.
As you said on a podcast.
I think I made a lot of good friends working at my school. two of the ladies I consider to be my best friends both worked in my school district. They've both moved on, but we've kept in contact. And I've made a lot of really good friends. And that's hard because it's me working with, 18 to, I think my oldest one is 23. And it's not the same thing. But when I am working with them, I legitimately will look at, I create a calendar for them and I look at the calendar. I'm like, okay, he's got, 3 tests within this week. Like, let's talk about how we can get you to start studying now. Let's look at what you need to study. Let's look at office hours. Let's look at how you can get the best test grade you can. And like one of my kids is like, I am not going in for office hours. I don't like talking to professors. So when I talked to him last week, he's like, yeah, I met with my professor and we went over my last test and this is where I struggled. So we went over like learning styles for him. And I'm like, look at you, like you're straddling these 2 different learning styles. These are some tips that I can give you for how to maybe try a different way to study. And he's like, oh, I'm totally going to try that. So it's almost like that light bulb moment where I still get that satisfaction from it because I like helping people.
Yeah, just in this case, executive functions instead of the content or like high school like study strategies and things like that.
And then it's also kind of fun where I have kids in bio. I have one girl and she's doing a project in ecology. I'm like, I did the same project when I taught bio at my high school. I'm like, so let me give you some tips on this. This is a good animal to pick. This is not a good animal to pick. You would think this would be easy, but... So she picked the animal I suggested. She's like, yeah, the people that picked the ones that thought they were going to be easy, they weren't. I'm like, I know. You're
welcome. I have a friend that teaches English and like we went to high school together and now she's teaching English and she's like really excited because she got to teach a book that like we did in high school and it's like, have they not written anything better? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it is nice that you have the insider info, right? Like it makes it a lot easier to kind of
it is
give them an inside edge. When it came to like the time to transition out of it, what happens when, and granted, I'm a 3rd-year teacher at this point, but like, what's that like to say, okay, this is for sure the decision I want to make. Here are the steps I have to take and the people I have to tell. And
it was so hard. And I think when we were teaching together, like that was the start of it. It wasn't an easy, like, okay, I'm done. I need to take a year off. Like it was a gradual. There was something that was happening where I'm like, I'm not happy when I go home every day. I don't have the same sense of satisfaction when I go to work in the morning and when I leave at the end of the day. I have a husband who travels a lot. So when he's gone and, I had 13 middle schooler now in high school. And I found when my son said to me one day, he's like, Mom, do you want to go out and play catch? And I'm like, I can't. I have an IEP to write. I have projects to grade. I have lesson plans to write. And his little face fell. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm choosing work over my child. That was kind of the turning point for me.
Sure.
So I'm like, I like you said, being present with the kids. I'm like, I'm not being present with my number one priority, which is my family.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of reflected from like my first year teaching through my 20th year teaching. Like I was very reflective in that lesson sucked. Ooh, that IEP really, I could have written a better goal, but I was just trying to get it done. Like I do like to reflect and make myself better. And when I took a step back and reflected on that, I'm like, I can't keep going at this pace. And it's affecting my family. So I talked to a coworker and she said, as I said, I'm going to, air quote, retire this was when I was 45. I think I'm 40. I'm 46 now. And
I'm going to believe that part.
She's like, no, you can't retire. Take a year leave of absence. And I'm like, I didn't even think of that. She's like, take a year, see what you're going to do. And I kind of, like I said, I fell into this job. Like I had no idea what I was going to do on my year off. I knew I needed to work, but anyone that knows me knows I love dogs. I like to collect dogs. My husband stopped me at 2. And like one of my ideas was we have a really big basement. People we bought the house from, like they put a crap load of money into this basement. It's the bar. I think they spent like $20,000 on this bar.
Okay.
Like it's nicer than most people's houses. And I'm like, let's open Bubbly Pups.
Bubbly
And he's like, what is Bubbly Pups? I'm like, we'll do like a doggy spa. And while your dog is getting spa'd, you come drink with me at the bar. My husband's like, I think you need a liquor license for that. And no, you're not doing that in the basement. I'm like,
sounds like a great time though.
Doesn't it? I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to charge you for the alcohol. I'll put that into the cost of your doggy spa. And he's like, who's going to be spying the dogs? I'm like, not me. Well, hire someone for that.
Bring somebody in. There's no liquor license for that.
As my mom often says, she's like, I don't understand how does he put up with you? Like, I don't know. He likes me. So then we were going to adopt dogs and have a kennel in the basement. And he shot that down too. So I'm like, okay, so I can't do Bubbly Pups, which he said was a stupid name, by the way, which I stand by. Bubbly Pups. Like,
I think if you started a podcast,
Bubbly Pups. Yes. I kind of thought at one point, like, maybe I'll go work at Starbucks. I really like Starbucks. And
that seems so intimidating.
I feel like I could just be that basic bitch working at Starbucks. Like,
I feel like I would get fired instantly. Like, when I go there, I order an iced Americano. I keep it simple. Like, I hear people saying, like, I'll have a Frappuccino, Panatino, blah, 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 with a blah, blah. And I would get lost in 4 seconds. I couldn't do it.
Nope.
Could you hang with it?
I don't think I could. I was watching them when we were at the one near where we live, and the drive-through line was like 10 cars deep. So we're like, let's go in. I think the drive-through was faster, but they had like 8 people working behind the counter, and it still took 10 minutes to get our drink. Yeah. And I'm watching all this. I'm like, God, that looks like a lot of work. So yeah, I don't think I could make you tea. I'll make you tea. I can pour coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
And I asked for something one day, and she's like, oh, we don't have the blonde roast. We can do a pour over. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Does it taste the same? Like, if they're like,
I'm like, it's not even for me. So I'm now texting my friend. I'm like, is a pour over okay? No. Like, I don't know what to do now. Like, I'll just get you a water.
I'm the same. Like, you ever read? So like right now we're drinking this Two Brothers Prairie Path. Such a good podcast. I mentioned that from the start from our. You ever like read the descriptions at like a brewery, and it's like has a earthy something tone with a hint of
leather.
Peppermint and like so you're like, the fuck am I supposed to taste this shit? Like, do you want me to swirl? Like, I don't understand. So it's like when people are like spouting off, they're like, if I don't get a dollop of whipped cream after they mix my coffee, I'm like, how do you tell?
Seriously.
I don't get it.
Yeah, nope.
So barista's out. So what were some other things you were thinking about before you found this job?
I really thought about a friend of mine has a daughter with a pretty severe learning disability. Like she's missing part of like a 5th chromosome and very, very developmentally delayed. And they got her a therapy dog. And since she's gotten the therapy dog, her language skills have improved, her occupational, like fine motor, gross motor, verbal skills, like she is just overall blossomed. She's never really going to progress to where she can live on her own, but she's communicating so much better because of this therapy dog. So I'm like, maybe I could work with therapy dogs. Like I would love to train dogs to work with special needs kids or with veterans.
Yeah. PTSD. I tried to get a therapy. Well, still am. Then the strike happened, but I've been trying to like get a therapy dog in my room full time. Like he or she would live with me, and cause the benefits are incredible. Like literacy, social, emotional learning, everything, communication, trauma.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
So I've rescued 2 dogs, and just seeing how much like they just know when you're having a bad day, and having like the second dog we rescued. I think she was found like on the south side of the city. Like she wasn't abused or anything, but I think she was hit by a car.
Oh.
And so we rescued her, and she was so scared when we first brought her home. But over the past, I've had her for almost 3 years now. And just the love that she gives us. And, you know, she puts her little head on. Like when you're having a bad day, they just sense it. They come over, and I'm like, oh God, if I could do that for a living, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I was thinking of doing. And then I got this job working with executive function and college kids. I'm like, it's not dogs, but I'm like, I can work at home and my dogs are in the background. Like,
that sounds great.
So yeah, like there you hang out. There's a couch in my office. So it's funny because depending on where my screen is based on the sunlight, they're like, I can see your dogs in the background. Like, they're super cute. And then we can have a dog conversation.
There you go. Yeah,
so
great talking piece.
it's like Bubbly Pups.
Bubbly Pups. We got to think about, all right, let's roll with this. What would the format be if you were going to do Bubbly Pups? What would your podcast be about? If this is like the third time I've done this. This is too fun to like not do.
Bubbly Pups would be you can only drink bubbly drinks when you're talking Bubbly Pups.
Of
so
course.
well, I would differentiate for sure. So
check off all the boxes.
I would have you talk about your experiences with your dogs. Like,
Okay.
Let's talk about how you got your dog
I like it.
or cat. Did you rescue? Did you go to a breeder? I'm going to shame you if you went.
I was just watching the Grace and Frankie episode when he pretends that he got a rescue, but it was actually like a breeding dog. And he's like, I'm a terrible person. I caved. I'm sorry. No, that'd be great. Bubbly Pups. We'll start a sister podcast or something like that.
Excellent. We'll talk about your dog experiences.
So I figured this is a good time I need a refill. I don't know about you.
I do too.
But I figure when we come back, we can do maybe like a handful of things that you miss and some things that you definitely don't miss.
I like it.
From teaching. All right, so welcome back. Since Lisa has moved out of the classroom, we have Lisa's list of things that she misses and doesn't quite so miss from teaching.
My very top one is I miss the kids. Like one of my favorite stories of some of like my favorite kids was in bio when they were doing an environmental project, and this group was doing it on, conserving water. And we had sinks in our bio lab, so they turned the water on, and I'm like, you're doing a lab on conserving water, and you have water running in the background.
It's right there, guys. Come on.
This kid is now like a sniper in the Marines too, so
wow.
Like he's gone far in life. But I'm like, during that time, I'm like, you're an asshole. And I'm like, you're my favorite. I miss that. I miss those kids that connection you have with them.
Yeah.
I
miss breeding snipers too. That's great.
You don't get the connection during the Skype sessions. Like you make a connection, but the kids, that's why we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that was things that you miss. All right, one that you don't miss.
I'm going to go my 5:30 a.m. alarm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Starting
at that early hour in the morning, which I was never on time for, doing the scurry of shame. Yeah, I don't miss that. I don't even set an alarm anymore, really.
That sounds fantastic.
It is really fantastic.
I have a 4:50, 5:10, and it goes on from there.
I think I had a 9:30 session the other day, and I'm like, she's not going to show up. So I set it for 9:15, rolled out of bed, put a scarf on, did a cute little pony. She didn't show up. I went back to bed.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Cancellations so that's something that you love about this job.
Yes.
So if you did a list on things you miss from the current job, if like when you retire or leave this job, things you miss is students that cancel.
Yes, because I still get paid.
All right, so let's go back to the positive side. Things that you do miss.
I miss movie days. That day where you don't have a solid lesson plan and you're like, I'm going to show a movie today.
There you go. An incentive day, as we call it. You guys have earned this, and so have I.
It's better than a mental health day because I don't have to write lesson plans.
There you go. Yeah. You don't have to prepare for someone to come in and sleep at your desk. It sounds fantastic. That's a good one. Incentive days.
Movie days, incentive days, same thing. Things that I don't miss. Institute days.
Okay. You don't like when adults have a bell ringer for you to do as an adult?
They always astounded me that like all the current teaching styles are don't just sit and talk at your kids. Don't lecture to your kids. You need to, have the inquiry based and whatever else the buzzwords are now. And yet institute days are 8 hours of you talking at me, telling me what I'm doing wrong.
Although for us, they're not talking to us. They're reading a slideshow that we know how to read already.
Yes, word for word, which you're not supposed to do when we
Right.
teach the kids. Like, don't just read from the PowerPoint or Google Slides, whatever we're using now. And I'm like, but that's exactly what you're doing for 8 hours.
The biggest pet peeve.
No.
Institute days. Ugh.
Yes. Don't miss those.
All right. And one that you do miss.
Sick/mental health days. I have yet to take a sick or mental health day, mainly maybe because I'm off on Wednesdays and Fridays. But yeah, I haven't had the balls to call in sick yet and just cancel my sessions.
What would happen if that, like, does someone take over? Or is it just like, oh, I'll catch you the next time? Or?
I think I just have to reschedule with them, which
Okay.
almost sounds like a bigger pain in the ass than just showing up for my, hour-long session and calling it a day, putting it on my timesheet. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there is the thought, like, what do I do if I'm actually sick?
Sure. You know what you could do is you can call in a sub. They come to your home. They sit at your desk. And they sleep on your webcam for about 15 to 20 minutes. Problem solved. We'll get you a CPS sub. Let's do it.
Oh, my God.
I got it all mapped out for
Oh,
you
God,
now.
I actually have the perfect sub that could do that. I cannot remember his name, but he was one where I used to tell my co-teachers, I'm like, if you get sub Mr. X, I'm like, I will stab you in the foot. Like, that's unacceptable.
Right, watch out. You've been warned. I'm out. Peace. See you in 2 days.
I'm going to have IEPs all day. Sorry.
That sounds about right.
God, I can't remember his name, but yeah, he was.
He's definitely listening, by the way.
Yeah.
He's asleep, but he's listening.
He is
Yeah.
asleep. Wearing his gym pants.
Right,
Swishy
exactly.
gym pants. I do not miss writing sub plans.
Okay.
Kind of going with the subs. They are, even with like the pre-plan, like here's my emergency sub plan.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering where I put it and having somebody come, because I didn't have classroom. So then it was,
that's right. Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
had to come in and find it on my messy desk, and it was embarrassing. So yeah, sub plans, even with co-teaching, they're still a pain in the ass to write.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's an hour and a half. I'm not getting back in life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Not to mention, like, you ever notice, like, when you start to write down all the things that you do, you're like, oh, shit, I do even more than I thought I did.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, yep, like, make sure so-and-so doesn't do this. And there's a thing on that. And make you, at like 5 minutes after, flip the thing. You're like, oh, shit.
These are kids you can go to, kids you can't go to. And
Exactly.
these are kids that are super needy. And this kid is needy AF. You don't want that parent emailing you.
Right. Which I've noticed, by the way, there's some teachers in my school that, so we all have our own classrooms, which is really nice. And I love my room. Like, there's like almost no clutter. It's great.
It's nice.
Oh, I've tried so hard. And granted, it piles up every so often, but sometimes I'm tempted because sometimes when you come with a sub, the next day your room's a tornado.
Mm-hmm.
And some teachers are just like, no, just send them to the computer lab. And I'm like, I should do that. But yeah, I'm 100% there with you on the sub thing, but that's
Sub
brutal.
plans.
Do you remember, by the way? So we talk about like helicopter parents and lawnmower parents. There was one time when I switched a student's seat. This was in our co-teaching class. This is the thing I wasn't going to tell you earlier. And I switched their seat. 4 minutes later, because these kids have internet access, you and I both get an email from a parent saying, why did you switch my kid's seat? And we both look at each other like, fuck, what do we do? I'm like, all right, let's think about this pragmatically. Like, how do we figure this out? And oh my God, that parent was on it.
Yes.
And it wasn't just a regular email. It was a link to a locked, secured communication thing for an encrypted message to figure out, why did you move Cindy Lou Who from seat 4 to seat 7? Like, what the fuck? That was the most scared I've ever been.
Don't miss that. There you go. There's the don't miss.
There's another one. That wasn't from the list, right? I didn't steal one.
No, I put the 500 crazy parent emails at once.
There we go. Okay. Didn't want to spoil one, but sorry.
Yeah, no, but I don't miss that. Like now they come in one at a time after sessions, but not on the same day.
Yeah.
So I get a Tuesday crazy parent and I get a Thursday crazy parent.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Maybe 2 on Thursday, but otherwise Monday, I don't have crazy parents on Monday.
So what did your student initiate to make me take a mental health day? About this restorative gestively.
I could probably say that. I will say one thing for my boss. I had a parent tear me a new one. Like,
oh, God.
something happened and the parent was like, what are we even paying you for? Like,
Ooh.
are you going to pay for his classes when he fails? My boss had my back.
That's good. That's nice.
She called the parent and she's like, you cannot talk to my employees that way. That is not acceptable. I understand you're upset, but you cannot talk to them that way. I got a email apology from that parent.
Oh, good.
And it's funny,
Justice.
like when I talk to my former coworkers, they're like, I'm sorry, what? Your boss, what? Had your back? Stood up for you? It was amazing. Like I almost cried. Never had that.
Yeah, all the happiness, all the happy tears.
It really was.
All it took was 20 years of not having that, and that finally.
So then going back to what I actually know that would be don't miss would be a boss that doesn't back you up.
It's all about glass half empty, glass half full. There we go.
Put that in the middle.
Yeah.
I miss teaching. I love teaching.
The day-to-day stuff. Yeah.
I do. I really do. I love just standing up there and teaching and asking and having them get stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than teaching executive function skills, like teaching curriculum and having them understand it and getting
it's a different light bulb.
It is. And yeah, I'm still happy when the light bulb goes on, but I miss the teaching.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. I think that's the thing I miss the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my bosses, when I was interviewing, they said, do you think you'll miss teaching? I'm like, absolutely. Like, I love teaching. It's ultimately like what I have meant to do. And I think I can still teach the kids the skills now, but it's different than teaching something that you're passionate about. And if I could do both of my jobs effectively, I would still be at the job that I was at, but I had to pick one or the other, and I chose what I chose.
Like you said, I had to prioritize the things that are truly important.
Yeah.
The moment that you see yourself like work is coming before my own family, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah. What I don't miss is somebody telling me I can't wear jeans on a Wednesday.
Does that really?
Oh my God, yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like Mean Girls, the movie.
When,
you can't sit with us. You can't teach with us. You
Yeah.
can't work with us.
You can't wear jeans on Wednesday or just on Fridays, unless you pay $20 during Cancer Month or whatever it was.
They did that?
They do fundraisers where you can pay to wear jeans for like 10 days. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I'm going to wear the same jeans for 10 days. I don't care. So this past summer, like, I basically just have to dress nicely from like the neck up, have my hair done, have some makeup on. So
like a newscaster.
This past summer, I was working with a kid and my dog started barking. So like I went to get her off the couch and I was wearing gym shorts. And my student's like, I always wondered what you wore. He's like, I always wondered, like, do you wear nice pants on the bottom? I'm like, some days I do.
The cat's out of the bag.
I'm like, but most days I'm wearing workout pants, PJs, sweatpants.
Now imagine if you like for some reason transition back to the classroom and you thought you could still get away with that. Like, what is happening right now, Miss A?
Where there's one day I had like a nice collar on a t-shirt and I'm like, I'm wearing a fucking t-shirt to work today. I'm like, I'm going to throw a scarf over that and we're going to look classy.
It all works. Don't come after me. It's not Cancer Month, but we're good.
I'm wearing sweatpants on a Wednesday. Take that. That was a don't miss. So what I miss my office. You can edit this out if you need to, but we called lovingly our office was called SpEdQuarters.
I think that's so cute. I'm keeping that in. I think that's so cute. That's going to be the title of the episode is SpEdQuarters.
And I don't even know how, like, the name just came up one day. It was like special ed office, SpEd office. I'm like, SpEdQuarters.
Oh, you coined it?
I did.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, this is definitely the name of the episode now. SpEdQuarters.
SpEdQuarters. It was it was amazing. Like, it really was. Yeah. They're definite just camaraderie when you're in there. And, you know, you have departments that have issues in them all the time, but we got along. Like, we made it work.
Yeah,
Not
nice.
all the teachers in the department were in SpEdQuarters, but the ones that were in there, like, we had fun. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we would just eat lunch in the office and you just start shooting the shit and laughing. Yeah. And I miss that social interaction.
Yeah. That would be your other podcast, SpEdQuarters podcast. Just those moments, just like a lot of bleeping of names and modifying story.
Then the day they gave us the little cubicles, and there was one day we were making fun of a teacher and didn't realize he was in the office because he was behind his wall, and I'm like, oh, that's awkward. I'm just going to own it. Like, hey, I'm an asshole. Sorry. But you already knew that. SpEdQuarters. I don't miss department meetings.
Yes. As someone that runs them now, I don't miss them at all.
And then, we had to go to department meetings for the departments we co-taught in, which were on different days or triple, depending on how many different classes you're teaching.
Oh, God.
And then we had levels. So you have the social studies or the geography level or the U.S. history level. So then we have level meetings. So now I'm going to science department meetings, special ed department meetings, and I have to go to levels for, chemistry or biology. And I'm like, I am spending all my time at these meetings. And we a couple of years ago, I worked with a special ed teacher, and we were talking about level meetings. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to go take a fucking level meeting right now. And that became our code word for going poop. So
I need to come up with one of those. That's amazing. One time when I was student teaching Joe, he was like, someone came into his classroom and was like, hey, I got to go meet. You got to take a poopers. I was like, is this the code? That's like me seeing behind the curtain for the first time, first opportunity. And I was like, I need to come up with one of these. That sounds great.
Level
I
meetings.
like that one. Level meetings.
Level meetings. I'm going to go take a level meeting. I'll be back in 10.
That's good. I'll change the sign in the bathroom. Instead of, I hope everything comes out okay, it'll be, you're on a level meeting. Enjoy.
Hope your level meeting goes well.
If you forgot something, just check the meeting minutes of your level meeting.
That was SpEdQuarters, the level meetings. We had a whole conversation about sharding one day. And
as one does. My buddy talked about how his strategy for if he ever had to fart when he was student teaching, was he would just dust crop and blame it on a kid. I'm not above that. That's a great idea.
I was always afraid that would be the not silent as I'm walking by. Miss A, we know that was you. Right. No, that was my shoe. It's carpet. Oh, squeaky carpet.
You made it 20 years without it, though. That's incredible.
I was also terrified when I was pregnant that my water would break.
Oh, God.
While I was teaching.
Yeah.
And just be like, you got something going on there.
Oh, God, that would be, oh, man. That's
Those
a whole other layer.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man, I hope I don't encounter that in my 20 years of teaching.
Did I say IEPs yet? I don't think I did.
I don't think so.
I feel like that should have been number one.
Number one, IEPs?
Oh, my God, I hated writing IEPs. And the program we got, 2 years before I took my year leave, we got a new IEP program. And it was such a clusterfuck. Nobody knew what they were doing. Got a new department chair, and she's like, here, just read the manual. You're not reading the manual.
Gee, thanks.
So, yeah, I don't miss the IEPs. And then this year, we're supposed to have drafts of the IEPs in 3 days before the meeting so the parents and admin can read them. I'm like, there were days I had a 7:30 IEP meeting and I showed up at 7:15-ish. And I was putting the finishing touches on it, praying that I could get it printed out before the meeting started. Right. Hoping the parent would be late because traffic was so bad.
Right, there you go.
I think the biggest thing I miss, honestly, is the teaching. I really like teaching, co-teaching and then teaching my own classes. I like self-contained and I like co-teaching equally. You build that rapport with the kids, and it's something that you can't do when you're having one-to-one conversations. I just miss the making connections with the classes, and I like teaching, but if I had to choose, which I did, I really like my job. I'm happy.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a great decision. It's cool and it's nice it's I'm new into teaching, but it's nice to see the different opportunities for people after they decide to leave the classroom. So Sounds like a great fit.
Yeah. Because somebody had said, oh, you should go into like corporate training. And then I think about when we have people come in on institute days and they're talking to a group of teachers and we're on our phones or we're zoning out or we're writing lesson plans or we're playing bingo to see how many times somebody says whatever the buzzword of the day.
Gotta earn that happy hour flight,
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I could do that. At least with the kids, like they have to take a test at the end of the day. So yeah, no, I don't think I could do that. I don't care. Like, it's not about the money. Mm-hmm. Clearly, I taught at a district that wasn't about the money. Really, I was in it. Like, you're a teacher because you have a gift to teaching, and not everybody can do it. I think you kind of figure that out pretty quick. Mm. Like, when I taught K through 4, I'm like, I am not a K through 4 teacher. I don't like singing the color songs. I had 24 kids in that class, and it was a really small classroom. I had 24 special ed kids, and I had 3 aides in there. God. And my Spanish, I was really almost semi-fluent in Spanish at that point.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was kind of cool.
Where are you at now with Spanish?
Así.
It's more than I got.
I do okay. When we were in Spain over the summer, I was able to communicate. Good story. We were in Barcelona and we went to the Gaudi house. He's the dude that built the Sagrada Familia, crazy church, which if you ever go to Barcelona, go to Barcelona. Go to Sagrada Familia. And we went to one of the houses that he built. Well, my husband forgot the tickets back at our hotel and they were on his phone. He's like, I'm just going to put my phone in the safe. All the stuff's on your phone. We're like taking the subway at this point because it's so much cheaper to do it that way.
Yeah.
And he's like, God damn it, I forgot the tickets are on my phone. So I went up to the like concierge at this Gaudi house and I'm like, hola, mi esposo olvidó los billetes. And he's like, you speak English? I'm like, sí. I'm like, ¿por qué mi español es bueno? He's like, yes, señor, your español is muy bueno. Let's just talk in English. And I'm like, man.
Son of a bitch.
Come on. So he goes up to the other guy. He's like, her Spanish is amazing, but we're just going to talk in English for this. And I'm like, wah, wah.
My pride is gone. All those years. That'll take you down a peg.
It did. But yeah. No, I was able to hold conferences at the end of my 4th year. Like I had a translator there, but I was able to communicate. I'm going to go 85% effectively with the parents. And then the translator would take over the rest. So like conversationally, I was fluent.
Wow. I wish. That sounds amazing.
It was really cool. Like I took 4 years in high school and then I continued in college. So then just, teaching in the city, it was, God, it had to be 90% Hispanic. And a lot of them like literally came from Valley of Mexico into my classroom. Yeah. And they didn't speak a lick of English. So
it's all out of necessity.
You learn, like you go right in that where like it is out of necessity. And they taught me a lot. So I liked learning from them. But at the end of the day, like I'm a high school teacher. Mm-hmm. And I thought about going down to the middle school, just doing like a change of venue. And then I'm like, I really don't like middle schoolers.
Most don't.
I have a middle schooler. I barely liked him. And he's a good kid.
I remember, so I took 4 years of French in high school, and I was talking to my buddy the other day. The biggest thing I learned to take away from that French class was the phrase, comment dit-on, which is, how do you say? And then you insert the English word.
Yes. Como se dice?
That's the lifesaver.
Spanish version.
Well, Lisa, it's been a few years, but this was fun. It felt like we just picked up where we left off. It's your first podcast, your podcast debut. How do you think it went?
I think it went pretty well.
That's good.
I feel painless, like I can come back again.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hoping. Hopefully I made it painless, all that good stuff. But
definitely.
I feel like I say that a lot, by the way, all that good stuff or things like that. Or, I say, if you haven't already, I say to my kids, if you haven't already turned in your assignment, if you haven't already subscribed, all that shit.
They're going to make a bingo card out of...
Oh, they should. We'll start some tropes for the podcast. Anytime Ryan says, if you haven't already, holy shit. If there's I'm screwed. What else do I say a lot?
I say definitely a lot.
Definitely?
I count, yeah.
That's a good one, though. That's like an optimistic, like, definitely, like, moving forward. Like, that's a good trope to
I'm going to try that. Definitely. Definitely you should. I'm like, damn it, there was a double definitely.
That's a good one, though. So, you listeners, you should definitely rate and review, and definitely make sure if you have someone that listens and they're not subscribed, have them subscribe. If they aren't listening, make sure they listen. So, Lisa, thank you so much for coming. You drove all the way down. This was so much fun. Oh, it was a lot of fun.
This is amazing.
I'm hoping we do some sort of an update where it's like, all right, what's going on with the leave and what's going on with the current job and stuff like that, because it would be great to hear. And we'll do maybe
what's going on with
lists.
Bubbly Pups?
Bubbly Pups and SpEdQuarters, those two podcasts that you're going to start within the next whatever amount of time it may be. But so everybody else, thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, there it is right there. So add it to your bingo card. Rate and review whatever app you're listening in. You can reach us classroombrew@gmail.com or at classroombrew on social media. Video episodes go up periodically. We haven't done one in a while because if you want exclusive content like full-length video episodes, that's going to be for our patrons at patreon.com/classroombrew. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm sure I forgot a shout out for someone that gave a rating and review. I will do that next week. But until then, class dismissed.